I believe that health is a right, and health is not being treated as a right by the world that we currently live in. And to feel healthy when your well-being is not even affirmed as legal or as that you have a right to exist is very difficult. I'm Soultree. I am an artist based out of Chicago. My personal history of being a migrant, of being undocumented, of being Filipinx, and just the journey that I've walked is really influential in why I create and why I share. I do a lot of different forms of art as a way to talk about my experiences. I kind of just started being a performer through organizing community and doing cultural work, and I've used it to kind of channel a lot of energy. Now I've also been using it to preserve my culture and to share intentions and visions of this world that we have and this world that we can have. I really see myself as a seed, this seed that's just been, that was planted in the Philippines, and then after a year I was transplanted to the Marshall Islands, and that's where I grew up, and I was blessed to receive the knowledge that I've had in the context of being Marshallese. And then, when I was 11, I moved to the United States, and that kind of was like an awakening of what another world looks like. I felt the impact of having your value monetized and having your value compared to Americanness. And I even being able to articulate this stuff has been years of me trying to figure out what happened, what is this pain, or what is this suppression, or what is this anger that I felt while being in this country. And it comes from the fact that knowing the United States bombed the Marshall Islands repeatedly in the 50s, doing nuclear tests, knowing that the United States colonized the Philippines and still continues to colonize the Philippines. I found community support in that within Black and brown, undocumented, queer communities that showed me how they were working towards their liberation, how they were uplifting their narratives. And they were a lot of the people that I found that I was able to connect to and release with were people that were doing art and resistance work. And that's since then has shifted to healing. I want to invite playfulness in the sense of creativity, so that I'm hearing that there have been a lot of challenges. There's challenges just around the idea of healing and around the ideas of borders and around the ideas of being Asian in this country. A lot of undocumented folks feel isolated and unseen, and that's kind of part of why we exist, is to be this illegal source of income, or the source of labor for this country that is being persecuted and threatened, even though this nation is benefiting from us, and it has roots and relationship and connection with slavery that plays out today, but perpetuate slavery because we, as undocumented people, that are non-Black, are being preferred over the labor of Black folks. And even the fact of being undocumented, that brings about so many health issues where you don't even feel like certain pain that you experience is pain because you're so used to it, and you feel like, oh, you might be sick, but you're just I gotta work. Usually, the issue of health has so much fear around it, and anytime you're dealing with a system, whether it's the government or it's health, you're just worried when you go into these institutions. You're not really gonna divulge what you're experiencing and why. There's just a fear even that they would report you, because historically these practices have happened in the past, and it's a continuous system of distrust and feeling of like unworthiness when it comes to like health. I think being undocumented makes a lot of people feel like they don't deserve to be well, and that because we don't receive insurance, the money is the first thing, and like the inability to work or go to school is the first thing that you know, your parents think about. And I don't think it's just isolated to being undocumented. I think that it's related to being poor and marginalized and predominantly being of color. It's really a time for us to like bridge these disparities in access. I recognize right now that we live in a world of capitalism, that people have to like work to live. And so I just think that we can make space in our daily lives. We can really shift in a way that advances all of our collective and individual healing. Anybody and everybody has a skill that they can share. I think that there's infinite possibilities of how we can collaborate and really come from this notion of like, I'm not here to like donate my time or to do charity work with undocumented people because they're marginalized and I feel bad for them. But in a way of like, I'm a human being and I know what it's like to not have access or be given access to certain things, and I want to share these skills to these folks and seeing it from a more familial way of like, okay, we're just supporting each other, you know, and it's not from a hierarchical place and from an outside place, but from I am here just being with you and sharing what I got, and this is how we're going to move forward together.